Here is the Chapter 17 lab that's in your binder. And it starts off, you have all of these statements. Then on the next several pages, you have these, what I call diagrams, and they have blank boxes. These statements fill in these boxes. So on the paper version of this lab, you go through and you figure out which of these statements completes these diagrams. So the purpose of these is to show how hormones act. You have to have a stimulus, right? Low blood oxygen is a stimulus. You have to have a gland. The kidney is the gland. It detects the stimulus and it secretes a hormone. So EPO is the hormone. Then the hormone has to have something it's going to do that is in response to the stimulus. So if your stimulus is low blood oxygen, you want to get that oxygen back up to normal levels. So the kidney is going to detect that you have low blood oxygen. It's going to secrete the hormone EPO. EPO is going to go to your red bone marrow, and it's going to tell your red bone marrow to make more red blood cells, because red blood cells are what carry oxygen in your blood. So then, because your red bone marrow made more red blood cells, that's what will go into this empty box. The additional erythrocytes, which is another name for red blood cells, carry more oxygen. Because you now have those extra red blood cells carrying oxygen, your blood oxygen goes back up to its normal level and your problem is solved. So these are the diagrams that the instructions refer to. The online version has this, where now you're just going to put these in order. So you begin with the stimulus, which would be the low blood oxygen. Then, because your oxygen is low, your kidney notices that and it secretes EPO. The EPO tells your red bone marrow to make more erythrocytes. Now, because you have more erythrocytes, you can carry more oxygen, so your blood oxygen returns to homeostasis. Okay, so then here's your next one. Too much blood volume stretches the heart, and then you have a blank. So this is where you're using your textbook and you're seeing, okay, if there's too much blood volume and the heart is being stretched too much, which hormone is going to be secreted? And there's a chart in Chapter 17 that gives a summary of all the hormones, and that chart is going to be very helpful for you. You also have the process of elimination. All of the answers come from here. So as you use an answer from here, cross it out and go through and do the easy ones first, the ones you know, and cross those out. And then that way you're not having to look up every single hormone in the body to see which one is secreted by the heart when it's being overstretched. You can use process of elimination to narrow it down here. Then once you have filled all those out, you have this chart. This is in the soft chalk, and I just went ahead and filled out the chart for you. There was no good way in the online version to have you fill that out. So I did that for you. You should take the information I put here and copy it into your binder. Okay, now this part. Answer the following questions based on the diagrams. So that means that the answers to these questions are going to come from all of these diagrams you just filled out. Okay, so when it says which is a positive feedback cycle, so look back at all these diagrams you just filled out and see which one of them is a positive feedback cycle. And as you're doing stuff in the online version of the lab, you should be filling out the paper version of the lab in your binder. Because when you take tests, there's going to be test questions over this. And you need the paper version filled out so you can find answers to test questions. Okay, which is an example of neural stimulation. Now, and if you don't know what a positive feedback cycle is or neural stimulation, that's in your book. Positive feedback goes back to Chapter 1. We learned about positive and negative feedback. Neural stimulation, that's in Chapter 17. Hormonal stimulation, that's in Chapter 17. So if you're not sure what it means by neural stimulation, read the chapter in the book. It's discussed in there. So which is an example of neural stimulation? You come back and you look through these and you see which one gives an example of neural stimulation. right? So all of these where it says which, you're going to name one of these graphs or diagrams, I'm sorry. And in the online version, it's just set up as here it is, it's just a matching. So which is the positive feedback cycle? You're going to pick from these, and these are the diagrams you just filled out. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, just let me know.